Hello everyone, I am Umber Rays, and finally, 1 year later, I get to say this. Everyone out there, apologize to Squall now. This is your last chance at the start of this video. After that, Squall's gonna open a can of whoop ass on you. Anyway, long story short, let's get into talking about Squall's enhancements. Mother of God. So honestly, Squall has had kind of a rough time and definitely been a little bit... Who am I kidding? He has been very benched ever since essentially he came out. Because shortly after, Hayu came out and proved that there was no place for Squall in this game. And Squall has spent a year training and planning his damn revenge, and I'm not entirely convinced that he isn't going to get it. So let's talk about Squall. Squall basically gains a couple of things. First of all, Keen Edge Kai. Keen Edge Kai, if you're wondering about this attack, well, let me put it this way. Keen Edge Kai is a better version of his regular Keen Edge, which was already a pretty hard-hitting attack. Now, the one thing we didn't know about earlier is apparently this is a cooldown ability, and probably for good reason too, as you will shortly see in the near future. No, we're not talking about near. Focus on Squall. Squall gets this cooldown ability, which is on a 5-turn cooldown, so it is definitely a slow ability, but when it hits, well, again, you'll see. The other things that are improved, Blasting Zone. Blasting Zone also gives a bonus to Keen Edge and Keen Edge Kai for multiple turns, and this is rather important because, as it turns out, Squall just may have one of the best setups in the game. But anyway, continuing on. The other things, Keen Edge does get a nice little juicy upgrade, which is great because you're going to be using this ability a fucking lot. The other ability to be upgraded, his Fire Chaining ability. Now, the Fire Chaining ability gets an extra modifier as well as extra hits, so it's now Holy Explosion Chaining. That's right, he can fire Holy Explosion Chain, which works perfectly with Axstar, as it turns out. But not only that, it debuffs the fire element for 75% for multiple turns. Again, this is rather important because, as it turns out, we're going to be doing fire chaining because this ability also gives fire element to Squall's attacks. And this is rather important because unlike more recent characters such as Zac has no elemental immune. So even though Zac does have critical hit, Squall actually triumphs over Zac because of the elemental bonus here, which is rather interesting to see that a brand new unit has been kind of outdone. But keep in mind, Zac hasn't gotten his enhancements yet, so he also gets bonuses, extra modifiers to his Keen Edge abilities, as well as just more stats for upgrading this. And 50% total Esper stats extra, which is really nice because, again, as Esper stats get better, so does Squall. Now, the only other thing that I should mention, his enhancements were pretty costly, about 10 million gil, which, given the line of some of the more powerful units we've seen in terms of enhancement lately, seems about right. But remember, if you're planning on this in the future, you're going to have to give Squall quite a bit of money. Now, I've seen a lot of discussion about this on Reddit and Discord about what Squall's best weapon is, and honestly, I'm not entirely convinced about this. It looks like you can get a fair amount out of his own TMR, but if damage variance is to be believed, then, and it probably should be, then both Vincent's Super TMR as well as CG Jake's Super TMR are considerably better for Squall. So with that being said, we now have our Squall ready to go. Let us go up against the training dummy and show what Squall can do now. Now, thankfully as well, the pattern for what you want to do with Squall is readily pretty easy to follow. You open up with his Fire Chaining ability first and Blasting Zone. This is going to power up his Keen Edge abilities, debuff the enemy for fire resistance, and give fire element to his attacks. Now we're also going to be using 2 Axstars because why not? Let's show just how much damage we can really dish out. We also have Primrose to try and power up some Limit Bursts, MP regeneration, which is also why Aerith is here, And last but not least, Primrose can also give a pretty nice buff where Squall just can't give himself a huge attack increase in basically the cycle we're going to be demoing. Alright, so Axe Stars first. And here we go. Let's get the damage started. So, not a bad amount of damage for turn 1, I'll have you note. But now we get into the really fun stuff. So we are going to be using Axe Star's abilities basically every single turn from now on. Which these two are going to be our main chainer, but I want to show off just how much damage can be done. We'll also just recast that with Primrose. Now turn 2 is when you start using Keen Edge, basically just double casting it every turn. Let's see how much damage we can do on turn 2. As you can see, Keen Edge hits really fast, so we're already over 1 billion points of damage. And yeah, it's going to get a little bit better. Because, again, while Keen Edge has been increased with all of the modifiers it can get, technically we can do a little bit better in a turn. So let's just go again. We're going to be looking for some nice damage modifiers here. A little bit lower, but you know, damage variance is not very nice. So thankfully we also have the Limit Burst ready. We're going to be using Aerith at the end of this turn, just because Aerith is going to get a really nice, like just 100% MP regen is so nice, and Squall's just going to keep doing what Squall does best now. Alright, and for next turn, we are just going to use Primrose's Limit Burst and Aerith's MP heal. Now the next turn is when I would say the real fun is. As you can see, we did a pretty good amount of damage, but let's try and do a little bit better. And the reason is we're just going to be using Axe Star's cooldown ability into his 62 MP ability, which, if you know, does, and I'm quoting the box on this one, a fuckload of damage. But now we have access to Keen Edge Kai, and we want to use whoops, I think I clicked on the wrong thing there. Ooh, the pressure, right? Here we go. And let's see the total. Yeah, pretty damn nice for a time when we're not even trying just to get variants. We're just seeing how much he can do. Squall is insanely powerful with Axe Star. As a matter of fact, they might have been made for one another's. Squall can be used very effectively with his own TMR, I have found. That has been, you know, of course, weapon rate enhanced, but he can also be incredibly effective with others' TMRs, and particularly CG Jake or Vincent gives him access to 2 different options, which are really good for him. And that's not even with 100% fire debuff. Technically, we could probably slot Ignis in place of Aerith, just find a different way to do MP regeneration, and do 100% fire debuff off of Ignis, which would push us well over 2 billion points of damage in a turn when we're already almost doing 8 billion points of damage every turn. Long story short, here is it's very simple. Squall is sorry. Squall is insanely powerful. His enhancements not only remove him from the bench, in my opinion, but actually put him in a pretty decent contention for being one of the top damage dealers, because he actually has a good chaining method now, but he also has an amazing chain finisher too. Yeah, Squall buddy, for everyone who badmouthed you, congratulations. You got probably the best enhancements we've seen in the game thus far. Yeah, that being said, we haven't seen CG units enhancements yet. Anyway, you guys, if you have the money, if you have the disposable stones, so to speak, To get this guy into a 7-star form, I would vastly recommend that you do it. Squall, maybe the near banner wasn't quite as hype as we thought, but we just had to look in a different place in this update to find the truly great diamond in the rough. Anyway, you guys, thank you very much, and I very much look forward to using Squall in the future. See you guys later.